Lovely. Hey, Rainy. Oh, good. Oh, no. Oh, it's dangerous. The humanity. Cookies. This is insanity. The tragic nature. Oh, gosh. Well, in a situation like this, well, there's only one thing left to do. Strike! Well, that's one way to feel better.
Well, that was spectacular.
Very nice.
Okay,
what a professional.
thank you. Wasn't that great? So thank you, Bon Jovial, for doing that for us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Radio Gunk. And tonight we are doing an interview with Scott. And Scott, so hi.
Hi. What's happening?
I'm so happy that you came on the show with me. And full disclosure to everyone out there, I kind of got introduced to Scott kind of around the time where he departed from Sirius, and we kind of became friendly, but not really, but just kind of would chat with each other every once in a while on text and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw all of a sudden that Gorilla was down in Florida and he was interviewing Scott. I was like, hey, what the fuck? Like, I didn't realize that you were actually doing any kind of interviews. And so
I didn't either. Was that really an interview with Gorilla?
I don't think it really was, especially when you bring in the little fidget ginger boy that he put on with you.
I know.
I wasn't understanding the Mason Reese thing, but okay, nonetheless.
Well, we were supposed to do it all together, and then it didn't work out, and we were supposed to be in one room, but we had to do it remotely, but it worked. It was fine.
It was fine, and the difference is, I think. And then I heard your thing with John, which I thought was a really actually decent interview, and.
Thank you.
I think a lot of what people want to talk about, and I'm just going to get it out there right now, guys. Okay. So Scott has an NDA. There's a lot of things he's not going to talk about. So don't expect him to just go and rip people a new asshole, because it's not going to happen. So just know that up front. A lot of people had a lot of questions for you.
Yes.
And I'm just going to throw it out there.
Throw them out.
You talk about whatever it is that you think you're comfortable with, and that'll be fine. So,
wait, did I say I had an NDA? I didn't.
Yeah, I said you had an NDA.
Said that. I didn't say that.
Okay, well, so do you?
I don't know. I got to talk to my lawyer.
Oh my God. Okay, so that means yes. So basically, okay, so we will say that no comment will always equal.
No comment.
Yes.
That's what it
okay.
equals.
So
no, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability, whatever the question is. Let's deal with it, and
And listen,
whatever.
Honestly, the worst thing you can say to me for the entirety of this interview is that everything is amazing. We had a wonderful time. Howard's the most amazing boss to ever work for. I'm glad for my years there, and everything was great.
Right.
So there's that.
Okay,
and
you said it.
Okay, so we'll start with that.
That's true, but that's
all
true.
right. So let's go. So let's backtrack in. So when you first got the job with Howard,
yes.
Were you into his sense of humor? Like, did you know anything about him? Did you think that he was something great?
Okay, so it was late 1985. I had no idea who Howard Stern was. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people did. He was on NBC still.
Right.
And then he went to K-Rock in September in late 85. And when they decided to go to mornings, I got a call and they said Howard's looking for an engineer. And I got a call from Jimmy Fink, actually, who was working at K-Rock.
Yeah.
So they were looking for an engineer, and I went for the interview. I really didn't know what Howard did. I started listening to him at that point. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. This is good stuff. So
crazy. So did you think it was funny, or was it like more outrageous and like, holy shit, I can't believe he gets away with this on air?
Well, it was all of it. It was funny. It was outrageous, and holy shit. I said, that looks like a good job.
And so when you first actually got on air and we knew who Scott Salem was,
Yeah.
how did you feel about being put front and center to be, and let's not even go with ridiculed, let's go with just being on air and being a part of
a part of the show. Are we frozen? You're frozen. You're frozen. Am I by myself? I love being part of the show, and now I'm the host. Monique froze. I can't see her. I can't hear. Well, I can see her frozen face. Must be cold there, wherever she is. So I guess I'm the new host. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Scott the engineer, new host of Radio Gunk. Anyway, I guess we're live. My clock's still ticking, right? Monique. So yeah, I loved everything. I got the job, and it was interesting because he was on in the afternoons when I first started. He was so I started with him in the afternoons at K-Rock, and then 2 or 3 weeks later we went to mornings, and the fun began, as they say. Obviously, we didn't have ratings. We had, I mean, it was pretty good ratings. We were climbing. The show was just changing its evolution at that point from NBC to K-Rock and then to mornings. So it was, everybody was together and making fun, having fun. Is Monique ever coming back? I don't know. Was I live? Am I live? This is a trick. I know that. You can't trick me. You're gonna get me to say something on by myself. But there's nothing to say, really. I was there for a long time. I had a great time. And what do we want to talk about? New York sports fans. Let's see. The Yankees are. I'm not going to spoil.
I lost you
if you didn't watch it.
I lost you.
Oh, you did. I didn't know whether I was live or not, but I was talking to the audience. I thought I was live.
All of a sudden, you were spinning, and I was like, "Fuck!"
No,
it's me.
You froze.
I know it's me. I know it's me. I know it's fucking me. Sorry.
But I was talking.
I even lost my
live to the audience. Was I live to the audience? I don't know.
I guess.
I
I'm so sorry about that. I feel like such a rube. I've been doing this for 4.5 years.
That was my fault, obviously, because I'm the engineer and I screwed that up for you.
Yeah, not gonna lie, you're a little spotty right now. Okay, wait. So I lost your train of thought, and I was asking you about when you first went on air and how you felt about that.
I answered that already. You missed.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Come on, no fair. Tell me.
All right. Well, it was odd because I had been working at ABC for the 4 years previous. And I kind of was on and off the air with the jocks. I was at PLJ and ABC AM. So, I had my little moments with the jocks and everything, but it wasn't, on the air at all. Really, just you heard me in the background. It was only radio. But then it was the weirdest thing. On my first day, I wanted to get to know how everything worked in the studio, how Howard was, how Robin was, what the equipment was, what he used. So I walked in during the show. I walked into the studio. My first day.
Just randomly,
my first day, because engineers where I worked at ABC, you could walk into the studio or the control room at any point to do something.
But you were not. They didn't have cameras in the studio at that point, right? So it wasn't any big deal. Okay.
No cameras. It was 86, early 86. So I was just walking around, looking at the setup, looking at how people react to each other. It was good for me to know what goes on in there. And Howard, like, what are you doing in here? I'm like, I'm checking out, everything. And he's like, get out.
Did he know you? Like, did you interview with him? Did he know that you were going to be his guy?
I didn't interview with him, but he knew who I was. I think I met him once before I started.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no one walks into my studio. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize what was going on. I just wanted to make sure how things operate here so I can better adjust to what I need to do for you guys.
Right.
Pretty much. That was the first time I was on the air, was my first day with him. So
then when did you actually become part of that crew, that on-air thing? Like, what happened? What was the impetus for that?
I don't know. It happened gradually. There was no real impetus. Like everything on the Stern Show, it was just real and it just happened. It wasn't planned or anything. And then we just kept building. I would come in if there was a technical issue or Howard had a problem with a piece of equipment. I would obviously come in and help him. And that's how it gradually, got to be more and more on the air. And then, it built up to the Zookeeper funeral in the late 80s, 88,
right.
89, where they put me in a coffin dressed as the zookeeper.
I saw that. So at what point did you become the Black Cloud? Like, what was that? Was that something that somebody set up as
that was later on.
How'd that happen? How did you become sad sack Scott?
I always had that sad sack, kind of, because I would run in and he would be yelling at me and I'd be trying to fix something and, nothing was going right. So I kind of got that, sad sack thing. And, I could never win a bet with those guys. This was another thing. And, I was always losing at cards and losing at this and losing at that. So that kind of happened that way. And the Black Cloud happened, late after we moved from K-Rock. I was just Howard was like, why does everything seem to go wrong for you? And I'm like, well, when I was a young teenager, my mother told the family there's a black cloud over us. So that's where I got the Black Cloud from.
So did you feel at that point, okay, so I'm not going to lie, like even when I was a kid, if there was somebody who I felt I could pick on, I would.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
It made it easy for them to kind of make you, I don't know, kind of like the fall guy to either be the one who would be triggered and start yelling or be somebody that they could kind of pick on. And as somebody who and I know from the show said to me today, they always felt that Howard kind of felt like he treated people like a sideshow, and that you were part of, that he was the barker, the carnival barker, and that everybody else involved was kind of like the circus act that would be involved in the show. Did you ever feel that way?
No, I mean, he treated everybody equally, so it didn't really. It's kind of like a circus, but I didn't feel that way. If I was the only one being picked on, then it would have probably bothered me. But he picked on everybody. It wasn't just like me, and you're an asshole. It was everybody got the same treatment. So it was like being in the circle of honor, so to speak.
I feel like you were picked on a little bit more, though. I felt like because your response to it would either be maybe starting passive aggressive and then getting kind of angry, as opposed to just kind of rolling with it. And then you started to become the guy who who needed money. So they started to pick on you about
Right.
doing things and just pushing your fucking buttons to
Always.
make you that guy.
That was the Howard knew how to push buttons. I mean, everything was real. Nothing was made up. Nothing was scripted. He knew how to push the buttons. And sometimes I knew where he wanted to go without, after many years working in there with him, I knew where he wanted to go. So I would kind of just go in that direction. And just follow his lead. That's all you had to do, because he was brilliant at doing that.
And so do you feel at this point, okay, so now you're out of there how long? 5 months, 6 months?
I left, I'm out of there, year and a half.
Holy shit. Okay. So yeah, my time action calendar is all fucked up.
Yeah.
Do you still listen to the show?
Nope.
Do you feel before you left that the show possibly had jumped the shark a little bit?
Not for me to say. I was part of the show. It's hard to be opinionated about what was going on when you're in the middle of it. So,
but there came a point. There did come a point where, well, especially since COVID now. So there came a point where, I had Brent on a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the amount of people that were on the show, which was like well over 70. And it just kind of boggled one's mind to think about a show that's on 3 days a week for about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, necessitating 70 people on a show.
It's a lot of people. When I started with him, so count the people: it's Howard, Robin, Fred, Gary, Jackie, and me.
Right.
That's it. That's the whole staff. That's it.
So what happened?
And and then John came a couple of years later. And we made that show. All of us, 7 of us, not 70. 7.
But what do you think happened? What do you think started happening? Was it the money? Was it the move to Sirius, and because they were so financially flush that they could?
No, but there was a lot going on. The TV element came in, which added a lot of people, and needed a lot more people to be around and do things. So it just grew and grew and grew. The reason, like I said, there was a lot going on between the TV element, and he had other projects going on, so he needed a lot of people around to do the radio show.
What projects? What was he have? He gets paid $16 million a year to do AGT, which is a couple of weeks out of the year, and that's it. And and again, I'm coming from a place of anti-Stern show, so of course I'm going to be a little bit bitchy about it. But yeah, the truth is that he does a show that he gets paid almost $1 million per hour at this point.
I don't know.
And to have 70 people to back you up on that, I think is a little bit insane. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is a lot of people. There's a lot. I'm telling you, there's a lot going on. You got the tapes team. You got. I mean, believe me, that's a lot of work from all those archives. Because I was the only one doing that.
What are we talking about? Are you talking about like Sternthology?
Yeah, any of that.
Because
what they play, that stuff.
But it wasn't Sternthology. Didn't Sternthology wind up being things where? Okay, it's a great question because it just dawned on me. Do you think that at some point there was a conscious decision to start editing Artie out of Sternthology?
I have no idea. I wasn't involved in any of those decisions, so I don't know. I can't tell you. They'll probably edit me out of that stuff too. I mean, I don't know why stuff was cut. I can't tell you. That's his decision, and that's the way they wanted to roll. I mean, it didn't end well with Artie, so I can't tell you.
I know, but he was such an integral part of the show, and then
he was.
We've actually played tapes where they do the Sternthology, and Artie is basically eliminated from the entirety of what happened that particular day.
I can't.
Is there a
Well,
doggy next to you? Do I hear
my
doggy?
My dog is scratching. Come here. Come on. He's scratching my couch, which I'm going to kill him about.
Oh, here's
Winston.
Aw, Winnie.
Come on, Winnie. Go lay down. What? You want to see? Hold on, I'll turn him. Can you see him? Can you see him?
Where is he? Oh, Winnie, hi.
Huh? Hey,
Winnie,
say hi.
hi.
Say hi to my
Winnie,
niece.
hi.
Oh,
Winnie,
all right.
hi.
All right, he's laying down. He's a terror.
So I have a really good question for you from one of my friends, Bon Jovial, who's the one who did the opening for us.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read it to you exactly the way he wrote it because he said that Scott would understand it as I wrote it.
Okay.
When you first started, well,
he froze again.
he didn't write this entire thing. I've
wait.
interpretation.
He froze in the middle of that.
Did I? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. When you first started, Howard sounded like a nasal mouse without testicles. And then all of a sudden, he had this amazing deep voice. Can you explain the way Howard's microphone is manipulated? My assumption, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the mic would run through separate outboard racks. A possible chain may be preamp, equalizer, compressor, limiter. You did a really impressive job of making his voice sound huge when he moved to Sirius, especially with the brick wall limiting at the end. When you were initially setting that up at Sirius, was it Howard who was urging you to really push that processing, or did you decide to do it yourself? And the reason he asked this question is because there was a big difference when he was on air and then say he went on to Leno and he sounded, 12 octaves higher. And when he was processed on the radio, he sounded like he had two wrecking balls for testicles.
Okay. First of all, it wasn't all me. I had engineers work with me too. We worked together. I knew the kind of sound Howard to hear in his headphones.
Yeah.
What he was comfortable with. He wanted to be deep and ballsy, which isn't. Wait, Winston, don't ruin my couch.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Don't ruin my couch. Come on, lay down.
Don't you be deflecting with Winnie now. Don't you dare. Don't you dare do the Winnie deflect.
Deflect. Good boy. Come on, lay down. Let me get him a cookie. Be right back.
Okay.
I'm around. I'm still here. You can hear me. So, here. Oh, here. Eat some cookies. There you go. All right. Eat some cookies. Eat the cookie. All right. So we all worked together. I said, this is the sound I have to have. Deep and ballsy. And we would just and radio microphones are a lot different than if you're on television, believe me.
Right.
Radio microphones are the best. We had the best Neumann microphones. And you work really close to it. If you were in a lavalier on a TV show, you're going to get thin sound, no matter who it is.
Right.
So, and in combination with the microphones and the chain that we used of compression and really not a lot of equalizing. The microphone did a lot, and then the limiting and compression did a lot. So it wasn't as tricky and complicated as people think. And then whatever the processing at the end, which I had no control over, that's the company and the way they wanted to come out. K-Rock was set for music equalization. It had a lot of bottom in it to begin with.
Yeah.
So that added to it. I can't take all the credit, can I?
You can.
Okay, I'll take all the credit.
You could take the credit. And that reminds me of another question that we had. There was that time where Lady Gaga was on and she sounded wonderful. It was really a really good interview. Her music was amazing and it went seamlessly. So everyone gave you kudos for the sound. And then all of a sudden, Howard decided to give you shit about taking credit for it because apparently there was this guy, Chris Gibson, I guess, who comes in, Gibbons, and he, I guess, worked with you to do it. But
Yeah,
I kind of
you got to
felt it
work
was
with
kind of
other
weird
people.
though.
You
Yeah,
got to
of
work with
course,
other
but
people.
you were getting like a ton of credit for it, which let
But I
you
never took
take
credit
it.
for the whole thing. I'm not that kind of person. He worked. I worked with Chris. He was the head engineer for Sirius.
Yeah.
He did all the music mixes for Sirius and all their music recording, and they had the equipment and whatever we needed in terms of mics and wires and cables, and they would do the setup in the afternoons because I wasn't, I had to go home at some point, and most of the
Yeah.
artists would come in and set up in the late afternoon the day before. So yeah, he would set it up, and then when I got in the morning, we'd go over the sound and we double check everything, and I would listen, he would listen, we talk about it, make any changes if we need to. Yeah, so it's a collaborative effort. It's not just me. I mean, a lot of this early stuff at K Rock that sounded like shit was me. Now,
No, you know what? See,
at
this
K
is just
Rock,
typical you to just shit on yourself about something
no.
that we're trying to give you fucking credit for, and then you just swing it full circle so that
I mean,
you can be beat up about it.
at K Rock, I did a lot on my own. I mean, if we had, yeah, say hello. If
You
we
know
had
what?
a,
Take
yeah,
fucking Winnie, put him out that. I see those sliders. Just
the back, my terrace over there. Put him out. Believe me, if I put him out there, it'll be worse. He'll be banging on the door like a
But wait a second. I just have to go back just for a very, very quick second to my friend Bon
Mhm.
Jovial's question. So was getting him to have that deep compressed voice
Right.
something that he wanted? Like that was like the voice
Yeah,
that he wanted to be heard with
and
on
I'll tell
air?
you my theory about that. It's
Okay.
not direct from Howard. It's a theory. He started in radio at college and worked with old cheap equipment. So, and what they would hear in their headphones was an on-air feed of what the listener
Hmm.
heard. So that was post all the equalization and everything. So when you would hear an AM radio or a cheap radio, it would just sound boomy, and it was so compressed in his headphones. I think he got used to that sound. Even at NBC, there was no delay in the beginning. When he didn't have to work with a delay, I guess eventually. But when you first start in radio, he didn't work with a delay. He did music. He was, just a regular jock. So what
Right.
they heard was the air sound. They didn't hear what was coming out of the board. They heard what was coming out of the radio, basically in their headphones, which was all compressed and, overmodulated and all that kind of stuff. So I think he got used to that sound. So we tried to simulate that sound in his headphones.
Yeah, because the reality is he's a little bit on the more nasally, whiny side when he's in,
Because
in real life.
when you just listen to the audio out of the board, it doesn't sound anything like it sounds on the air.
Oh, really?
Not even close. So he wanted that air sound in his headphone through a board, because when you're in delay, you got to listen to the program. You can't listen to what's on the air because it's delayed. So we would simulate that sound coming out of the board and into his headphones. So it added to the overall sound of his voice.
So, okay, I'm going to go on to another
People,
grouping
it's
of.
very technical. People, they don't want to hear that. They're bored with that, right?
Listen, I was trying to give you the most technical thing I possibly could, and I was
So,
reading it off of my.
so that's how he got his balls. She's gone again. What do I do now? Okay, I'm gonna hang out this time and just, say hello to my dog and go play with my dog until Minnie comes back. But yeah, this technology is. Scott, what did you do? I broke it. Hello, come on. Hello, hello. I'm sure she'll be back in like 10 minutes. She had to take a pee break, but I'm the one that gets yelled at. She's her problem. I'm not even near there. Black cloud. Here she comes. Wait, I think she's coming back. Hold on. 1 minute. 3, 2, 1. No, I'm wrong again. Can't win around here. Oh, I love being alone. That's my life. Wait, any other questions? What else is going on? So we talked about his balls and his microphones, and really, it was a great time. But I'll tell Monique when she gets back. Right? Right. I'm gonna just wait now. It's no fun without her. Say hello to my dog over here. Come on, Winston. And I got my vape. I still vape. There you go. No cigarettes. It's vaping. Just vaping. She's not here. What's going on?
What the fuck is going on? You see,
What's going on here?
I'm going to tell you all what's going on here. So
I was vaping while you were.
Some of you may or may not know that I have finally moved out of New York. I am sitting in the woods in fucking Pennsylvania with the shittiest internet service known to mankind.
I've had no Biden's broadband.
Yeah, exactly. I've had no issues until I decided to do this. Wait, why are you vaping? I thought you had popcorn lung. What's going on here?
My lungs are fine. Don't believe any of that.
Okay. I wanted to get to a couple of questions about contests. And, everybody really wants to talk about the Lexington Steele thing. And
yes,
I'm a little confused about that because what I heard from some people was that it was all kind of a setup that Lexington Steele actually knew nothing about. And I was told that he was threatening a lawsuit if you guys didn't back the fuck up with this whole gay thing. So can you tell me how that went down?
Yeah, I don't know about a lawsuit, but I know he was pissed. Okay. You know what? People may not believe this, but I tried to stay out of everything that I could stay out of. I wanted to do my job, do it to the best I could, and do my life. I didn't want to get involved in whatever. So I didn't know about a lot of things. And people are like, bullshit, you knew everything. You were there from the beginning. Not really. I tried to stay out of it. I didn't want to get involved. But anyway, Lexington Steele. So the whole thing started with Casey going around and asking the staff if they would do anal for $100,000.
Just think about how ridiculous this whole conversation sounds. I just want you to know that.
We had a ridiculous show. So that was the idea. And believe it or not, the money sounded attractive, but I was never going to do anal. I just went with it, like I did with most things on that show. I just went with it. Why stop it when it's going to gain some steam? Like,
but if it went, what would you have done? Like, what would you have
go.
done?
And you saw what happened at the end.
What if it did? But
it
what
wasn't
if
going? It was never going to happen.
Because Lexington Steele was like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" Like, he didn't even know about it until after the fact. And I am told that a cease and desist came through. That he was like, "Dudes, seriously, shut the fuck up. I'm not gay, and I'm not going to do this."
Well, he shouldn't have been involved at all. I mean, his name was brought up, and it was just a theory. It was just, a question that was just thrown out there. Would you take anal from Lexington Steele because obviously he has a big dick?
Yes.
And it was just, it was somebody picked out of the hat, his name. It wasn't directed at Lexington. He had no idea.
He had no idea. Exactly.
No.
So when he heard about it, he's like, dudes, I'm straight. Like, I'm trying to understand. See, again, it goes back to the whole, oh my God, wait, how did you wind up being the guy that they decided was going to be the one who was going to do the anal?
Because I said, okay, to Casey, I said, yeah, why not? 100,000, who could use 100,000?
You know what? if you want to try and fart and it comes out like a whistle for the rest of your fucking life for $100,000, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, but I didn't intend to go through with it. People think, oh, yes, you did. I was going along as a bit. No, because it turned into more of, would you take from Lexington Steele? It was 100,000 behind closed doors, and then it turned into this,
I see.
Yeah.
So but then it turned into like a
question.
pay-per-view thing and like
a giant stadium. Yeah, exactly.
Which would have never happened, obviously.
And I just kept going along with it. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, it was a great bit. It was funny. So funny I knew. And Howard was rolling with it.
Somebody has a question. Scott's kids, your kids get bullied for this? Was this like an issue?
No. That's why I stopped it, because it wasn't gonna happen. But I was just like, and number two, I don't know if anybody knows this. Secret. Here comes a secret.
Oh, geez. Go ahead.
Oh, wait. What was that reaction?
Well, I don't know. I'm. I'll be pleasantly surprised if this is something of like actual note. Go ahead.
So the more we did it, Tom Chiasano got pissed off more and more.
Why?
He didn't want us talking about anal on the air on K-Rock. So the more he got annoyed, the more I wanted to do it. You get it?
Just because it would upset them?
That's correct.
Yeah, but you would have never gone through with it. I mean, just the tip.
I wasn't going through. No tips, nothing. I wasn't doing it. It was just the fact that it was funny. It was funny, and I was annoying Tom Chiasano, and Howard was loving it. So I just went with it until I couldn't go any further.
Did you like Tom? Was he a good guy?
Tom?
Yeah.
We didn't get along. Let me just put it that way.
Why? What was his problem? What was his deal?
He was the boss. Do you like any of your bosses?
No, I hate my fucking boss.
No,
I hated.
I liked a lot of bosses,
but I'm going to tell you something.
Underpaid.
I'll tell you something about my boss, though. My boss, if I knew that I was having like financial difficulty with a health issue that somebody in my family was having, and I was saying this to my partner Xavier this morning, because we were talking about your wife, Robin, and we were talking about the whole Howard thing. And I know you've gone through this with John and with Grillo, so I'm not really going to rehash it all over again.
Okay.
And but I will tell you that as much as I hated my fucking boss because I couldn't stand him, there is absolutely no part of me that doesn't believe that if he knew I was struggling, or if he knew that I had an issue that I needed some financial help with, at the very minimum, he would have said to me, "How much do you need? And you know what, you can pay it back at your leisure with no interest," because I'd seen him do that in the past for other people. So yeah, he might have been a total fucking douchebag dickwad, but you know what? He would have been there for me 100%. And that was actually the whole reason that a Scott Salem came onto the Radio Gunk radar, was because of the GoFundMe that you had. And you know the way we were, throwing the rumor mill around about, what happened with Artie and him wanting to take the money back, and and how we went through the GoFundMe. We saw who contributed from the show.
But all those names weren't real.
Well, like a Mamet was real, or like a Benji was real. I mean, things like that. But
yeah, I mean, those guys were awesome.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like, we all feel like there had to be a moment in time where you think to yourself, as I would with my boss, I wonder if he'll help me out. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, I just think that any good boss, or any person who treats his people as if they're family, as I think that you would have been, because you're OG on the Stern Show, you really are, and I think that you, of all people, would have been somebody that he would have reached out to, both in a emotionally and a financially way.
Well, All I'll say is whatever went on between me and Howard is between me and Howard. So
That's fine. That's a completely nebulous answer.
I
But
know.
I just
That's all I can say. I mean that's what we that's how I feel. It wouldn't matter if I was still there or not.
yeah,
When I told you I'd promise you I'd do your show. I promised you and I did it. I keep my promises.
I
So
know
if I
you do.
discuss something with somebody and they say, let's just keep it between us, or let's just do this, or let's just do that, I honor my word. So whatever happened between us is my word that I'm honoring.
Okay. So
And
I just feel like
I
we
can
were
tell you
all so
I never went to him for money. I never went to anybody for money, for help. All I did was try to get help from people. And the
I
people
just
were
felt like we were so all
phenomenal.
over it that,
People were phenomenal.
I know people are phenomenal. I mean, I can't tell you how many members from my forum donated to you guys. And,
I know.
we
It
all
was great.
just,
I still appreciate it to this
I know
day.
you do.
It's
I know you do. I just, yes. And, we all know that, Howard's the almost billionaire. And, people will always say to you, well, what the fuck? Like, why didn't he just give him the money? And, people just don't do that. They just don't.
Well, people
I mean,
don't know. Maybe he did give me money. Maybe, I needed more money. Or maybe I didn't want to ask for more money. You never know. I mean, so people judge right away, but, you shouldn't judge until you know the facts.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
Do you feel like at some point, the last time you were on air, I feel like you were really in a bad place. Like I feel like you were really not in a good frame of mind, and I feel like we all felt that. Like we felt, Robin was sick, and
Right.
you were going through your shit, and then all of a sudden you were just not on air anymore. So was that your decision, or was that the show's decision because they felt like you were kind of, down and bringing them down?
Yeah, I think that was the show's. It wasn't my decision. It just, he I think decided that, I was going through a rough time. Let me just give him a break.
And did you feel at that point though, that was, everybody had started saying that, oh, Scott's no longer with the show. Scott's on another floor. Scott's not with them anymore. Were you doing work for other shows at some point?
No,
like, did
I
you
never
start
was doing
like
work
spreading
for
out?
No, I continued to do my work for the Howard Stern show.
Yeah, see, I kind of felt like that too, because one time I went with Steve Grillo to a Bennington thing that was in the Fishbowl. And we saw all you guys, and everybody came out of the office and then went upstairs to, I guess, a conference room or whatever. And I said to everybody, I was like, Scott definitely is still with the show, because I saw him. I just literally saw him like 2 seconds ago, with the entirety of the crew. So you didn't actually farm out to other shows. You were still.
No. I was involved. I was involved with the writing staff. I was involved with the engineering staff. I was still involved with the show. I just wasn't on the air.
So
I would be in on daily meetings every day. We had our writing meetings and we had our engineering meetings, and I have to shut that dog up because he's watching a
Winnie.
dog on television. Hold on. Hey, all right, come on.
How funny is this, you guys?
Come here. Look. Okay, now you can lay down again. Okay, I had to shut the TV off.
So
isn't life
great? So at that point, did you feel bad about not being on anymore? Because I have to tell you, there's a couple of people on my website that were like, not for anything, but I fucking loved Bailey the Bedbug. Like they thought it was like a really fun, kind of silly thing that you were doing.
That's why I did it. It was just stupid.
No, it wasn't stupid. It was actually
Bailey, and
it was really silly and funny.
I got to do something. And Howard was always complaining about, bed bugs. He was yes, you too. He was always paranoid about the bed bugs. So I figured that I started with a voicemail that I left for the show. as Bailey, and then we did a song.
Yes.
He didn't like the song. He didn't like Bailey. What can I tell you? That's Howard. He knows what he wants, and he knows what he doesn't want. So
well, I was told by Brent.
Yeah.
I was told by
Brent
have
enough sense to get it on the air.
There's like, on any given Sunday, any given Monday, there's like 40 or 50 bits for him to choose from at this point. Like that he has, it's like an embarrassment of, well, riches, if you want to call it that, because we don't really find the show to be amusing or funny anymore, but that he has so much to go to just in terms of bits and such. And I don't know, we just kind of thought at the time that you were doing something that we all thought was kind of fun, and that he wasn't appreciative of it. And so were you feeling kind of marginalized at some point that you weren't on the air anymore, or did you kind of you were okay with it?
No, I was okay with it because I was having a rough time at home. For 5 years I was having a rough time at home.
I know.
I did miss being on the air somewhat. I mean, obviously, but I had to do my job and just go home and try not to think about what was going on at work because I had important stuff to do.
And was there a point where you thought, like, I remember Howard on air one time saying, you're not supposed to be talking to me, Scott. And it really made me feel like shit for you. Like, did you ever talk to him like on a personal level anymore after a point? Or was he just, big guy and he was boss and you couldn't really get that one-on-one time anymore?
Yeah. What do I say here? What do I say? If you needed one-on-one time with him, you can get it. It wasn't like, he was talking to you in the hallway. But if you needed one-on-one time, it wasn't a problem.
But it had to be something of like
importance.
Importance.
It wasn't any, how you doing? What's going on? What are you doing tonight? It wasn't any of that shit.
So did you feel then that like, the Christmas party time period was the time where, people would be able to get his ear or to be able to talk to him or something like that? And did you feel like there was always like some sort of weird power struggle to get his ear for a hot minute? And P.S., why would you want to get his ear? Like, is there?
Well, that's it. P.S., I never needed to get his ear.
You didn't, but 70 other people, I guess, are like,
I can't speak for them, but if I ever had to get his ear, I could. But I never needed really to do that. Unless it was early on and he needed money and there wasn't anybody else involved in the show. It was him and Howard was between me and Tom. And,
right.
At Sirius, it was a lot different. There was layers between. So it was but if I had to get his ear, I'd get his ear.
So today, coming to 2021, do you think he's a different person than he was 5 years, 10 years, or 5 years ago?
I do. Everybody evolves. Everybody's a different person. I'm a different person. You're a different person. You do evolve. So you have to.
In a good way or in a
evolve? That's not for me to judge. Is he evolved in a good way or a bad way? Like, how
do you think the show is funny? No, and I want you to be completely objective.
The show is not like, well, I can't, it's hard to, the show evolved so much from what it was to what it is.
Right.
It evolved from this really, kids comedy, sense of humor stuff and outrageous things that he tried to push the limits and see how much he can get away with, to more sophisticated interviews and music and things like that. So is it good? It's not good in the sense of what it was, but it's good in the sense of what it is, if that makes sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You can't compare the two early shows and the shows now.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. I mean,
they're totally different.
I get that we're not gonna like slap baloney on girls' asses and shit like
right.
that, or
He's
paint their tits with fucking for St. Patty's Day and shit like that. I get that completely, but I kind of feel, and I'm not necessarily sure, and I know you're not going to give me an opinion on this, but I don't care. But I think that, well, okay, two things. Were you at the, that we have this whole thing that we call the Pelican Brief, which was that video, that we have that video that was.
I heard about that, yes.
Okay, were you there for that?
Yes.
Okay, so while you're sitting in the audience for something like that, where he's telling everybody, we're going to go fucking down if we don't get our shit together, why do you think that was happening? Because I feel like, since we don't know what the subscription numbers or listener numbers are from Sirius, because everything's very, very arbitrary there, why do you think he felt the need to have a meeting like that? Was it to introduce Marcy? Was it to say that, hey...
Marcy was part of it, yeah. And he wanted to go in another direction.
What direction is that, though? Because did it ever wind up manifesting itself?
Well, look what you got now and look what you had then.
No. I'm talking about the whole red carpet. I'm talking about the whole... No. There was like a whole bunch of stuff that just seemed to be...
Howard constantly changed. He would constantly... Even in the early years, you would do stuff and you would go, why? You didn't like that? Or, where are we going this? Why are we doing this? The staff would look at each other and we didn't get it. But he knew exactly where he wanted to go. So we just did what he wanted us to do. It wasn't us to question this sucks or this is no good. He's in charge. We did what he wanted to do. So
was everybody on board with it, though?
Some were, some weren't, but I mean, you do your job, and there was a lot of things I didn't like, I didn't agree, but hey, I'm working there, and I'm told to do something, and I do it.
Did you feel like somebody like a Marcy Turk who had, I don't know, 8 jobs before she came there and was only in her mid-30s and had never been in charge of people and actually works for 112 and not for Sirius?
Is that all
was
true?
The right person? Yes. Was the right person for the job to be?
I don't know. I don't know what right person. I wasn't looking for a right person. You
weren't looking for the right person, but he was. I feel like he was looking for somebody. Familiarity breeds contempt. And I feel like so many people were on the show for such a long period of time that I think that Howard didn't have the feeling to say, hey, you know what, guys, I realize that every day is casual Friday, but nobody needs you to come in here and rip jeans and look like shit. Meanwhile, I go on other shows and everybody's kind of like, super professional and dress nicely and doing something differently. And I feel like there came a point where he wanted to be that. He wanted to be a more professional entity. Do you feel that?
I felt that. He wanted to get A+, guess.
Well, but he kind of was. And then all of a sudden, we come to today where you can do like a, Wheel of Fortune with 15 people. And that's pretty much who comes on pretty much a daily basis. And, we were talking about it the other day that especially during COVID where, stars, they're all so fucking needy and have such a need to be seen and yes. be out and be present that, it was an embarrassment of riches. He had his choice of, anybody he could possibly want. And, he goes back to like a Seth Rogen and a David Spade and a Alec Baldwin and stuff like that. So I feel like at this point,
maybe you ever think of the other end, maybe they didn't want to be on his show.
That's true. That is true.
I can't speak on that, but yeah, the guests you brought up have been on a lot. But I can't say the other people. People still probably have some feeling of I'm not going on the Howard Stern show because of his reputation, even though it's changed. I'm sure some people still, because he will go in an interview, he'll go to places people don't go. He'll still do that.
But really, he had Alec Baldwin on. He never once mentioned the fact that his wife was so full of shit and wasn't even really Spanish, which was the biggest news
I don't
in
know
every
that,
gossip column that week. Yet he never even said a word to
Well,
Alec about it.
Part of the problem is he's become friends with these
Exactly.
people.
Right. So the everyman is no longer everyman. He is now that guy. He's that Hamptons guy. And he, you know what? He won. He made shit tons of money. And he's just going to ride it to the end of the day.
He won. He's got what he wants. And
he did win. he
won.
win.
Does he have what he wants? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Will he
I
ever
don't
have
know.
what he wants? I have that problem too. Whenever I think I want something and I manage to unbelievably get it, I'm like, well, why did I want this so much?
Yeah, but shockingly, if you had like $600 or $700 million, might be a different story. Might be a different outlook on what you want and what you can get. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
Okay.
Say, could be.
Could be. Could be. I have some random questions for you.
Yes.
Do you feel like you took shrapnel for recording the Stuttering John Leno edition tape? Because it went from goofing to, Scott, you're a total fuck up, you suck at your job, and it became very mean-spirited very quickly. How do you feel about that?
Who's mean? They loved the idea that I had that tape.
Oh, they loved it, but then it turned from loving that to, Scott, why the fuck would you do this without telling anybody? Oh, Scott. God damn you, Scott. Scott. I haven't had this many problems with the show literally since like 2016, 17.
Right?
Totally lost. See, okay, I'm totally gonna blame you for any
my
fuck
phone
ups.
rang.
Oh, really? Did you really pick it up?
No, I tried to hang it up. For some reason, it rang and it cut off. I don't know why.
I don't know. I just feel like when you did that, like Stuttering John, everybody started goofing on it, and then all of a sudden it turned on you, and it was like, Scott, why the fuck are you doing this for Stuttering John? Why didn't you tell us that you were doing this for him? Like they were kind of mean to you.
Yeah, well, I was just doing what Howard told me when I first started them. Record everything and never throw it away. And
you did.
And that's what I did. I did my job.
Do you think?
I do.
Do you think that Howard holds grudges? Because it's sometimes it's hard to tell what's shtick and then when he really means to hurt someone. Like it's there's a fine line between the two, and I kind of feel like you and I'm gonna get to Shuli in a moment because I fucking hate him, but you guys when you're no longer on the show, I feel like you're all of a sudden persona non grata, and then there's no discussion about who you are or what you do or anything like that, and I feel like it's really unfair to the show. Like I feel like it's unfair to the fans as well, because tons of people will ask, what happened to Scott? What happened to Shuli? What happened to Brent? What happened to these people? And, he blocks any kind of commentary on Twitter anymore. So there's really no way for people to kind of talk to him or to have an opinion about the show anymore. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, we all have disappeared, but I can't answer why he doesn't want to talk about it.
Do you think that he just feels like out of sight, out of mind?
Probably. I mean, he doesn't want to deal with the questions and what happened and why did they leave? Some things are between the person and Howard, and some things aren't. I mean, but if I said to him when I left, don't talk about me anymore. If I'm saying if, I mean, or if Shuli said that or Brent said that, think about him honoring that request.
Yeah, but he's going to honor it anyway because he's not going to talk about it. Like anybody would ever say, don't ever talk to me about talk about me on the show anymore. Everybody else is trying to have a business or have a career afterwards. So why would they do that? Like nobody would do that, but he has chosen to do that. He has chosen to do that. So I can't really tell you why. What do you
don't
think
know
about the
why.
rumor that we just heard today about Sal not being with the show anymore?
Who?
Sal Governale.
Sal Governale. Oh,
Sal.
Sal, the stockbroker. Oh, is it Governale was his last name?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Wow.
I didn't hear that rumor.
Oh
really
yeah.
didn't. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Oh, there was an article about like the pizzeria that some people bought, and the person who was interviewing the new people who bought the pizzeria said
Right.
Sal Governale, radio personality and former producer for the Howard
Oh.
Stern show. So we were like, oh, what's that about?
I don't know that.
Nobody knew anything about it. I'm not really sure.
I'm so far away from that show that I really, I just left and I left. That was the end. So I don't know what goes on there. I have no idea.
Who do you
But I
think's a
would be
bigger?
upset. I would be upset. I love Sal and Richard
I'd be
and everybody. I
surprised as
loved
well.
everybody there.
Yeah, but
but-
I heard on Stuttering John show that nobody really kind of reached out after you were gone.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't say that. You're trying to fool me. I know
I
you.
am not trying to fool you. There is nothing I will ever say. I never lie. So there is nothing I will ever say that is misconstrued by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
you said
yeah,
something to the effect of that nobody really reached out to you after you had left the show.
A few, but not many.
See, okay, so I wasn't wrong.
No, there were a few, and they knew who they are, and the other ones know who they are, and yeah, that was a little upsetting. But what can you do? Life goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
And I
who
don't
do you
hold
think-
grudges, so I can't. I got to move on with my life, and
Of course you do.
my life is going.
You look great, by the way. I'm not gonna lie. You do.
Thank you. I can't say it in public. I feel great. It was just with everything with my wife and trying to balance my work and my wife's illness, and it was like a relief to be free almost of everything. I'm free of everything. So that's really comforting right now. In a year or two, maybe I won't feel that way, but I'm trying to go forward and live my life and enjoy the rest of my life.
So are you working or are you doing anything? Like, what are you doing with yourself?
I do nothing. That's what I do.
Welcome to the club.
As much as Howard will say, I did work my ass off there for almost 35 years.
Yeah.
And as much as I loved what I did, it wasn't easy. So, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 20 of that, over 20 years of that, it's just a lifestyle change that you got to get used to. And it was a lot of hard work. I mean, I'm not joking. People think it was fun and games. It wasn't fun and games. Maybe for Howard.
I wouldn't think so. It's a job. I mean, you're working for the number one radio station. Right. Of course, it's a job.
It was a job. It was a job. It was a great job, but it was a job. And at the end of the day, you had to do your job and do it to the best of your ability. And we all did. We all worked our asses off.
So who do you think's a bigger pathological liar, Howard or Gary?
Oh my God. I wouldn't even know. Really?
Like, how many times did Gary seriously fuck up? Because people stayed there. Because people stayed there forever.
Right.
And
we all fucked up.
I know.
Everybody fucks up.
But Gary in particular, I don't even know what his job is. What exactly does a Gary do today after 35 years?
Today, I don't know what he does today, but
okay. So let's go to 2019. What does a Gary do?
Gary always was in charge of booking guests. Getting to be friendly with the media people and represent the guests. Trying to procure everything that makes the show run. Whatever Howard wanted to Gary to do, he had to do. Get me this guest, get me that guest, get this on the phone, get to put that on the phone. What are we doing here? How can we do this? So Gary was, the point person for Howard.
So then when you look at a Jason, I don't know, did you feel like it was a little bit malicious, the way people would just go and tell other people about what was happening or what was going on, or were you
Yeah,
okay with it
sometimes
because it was for the
no.
show?
Sometimes there was things that got on the air that people didn't want to get on the air.
Yeah, I know shit. So what happens at that point? Like, does somebody go
You-
to a Jason who's
You go to that person, you say, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, we talked about it, or
and is it a brown nosing thing? I mean, is it one of those things where
oh yeah, there
you
was
know
a lot of brown nosing going on.
everybody
A
trying
lot.
to figure out who is going to give the most shit to somebody else so that they can rat on you? Like,
Yeah.
I would feel like I would walk on fucking eggshells there, not wanting to have a conversation with anybody for fear of the fact that they would go to somebody else and it would wind up on air. Like,
Well, in the
how do you
beginning, there
have a
wasn't many
trust
people to go
level?
to. In the beginning, there wasn't many people to
Okay,
go
so let's
to.
cut to
So
70
we
fucking
knew
people in
we
2019. Like,
yeah. At the end, like I wasn't on the air anymore, so I wasn't involved as much. But and then all the staff knew what I was going through at home, so there wasn't much trashing of me at that point.
you personally, but you know that
mm,
the the status quo was to rat on people and to
that's the
to get
culture.
brownie points for doing that, which
That was
leads me to
always the
fucking
culture. Yeah.
Shuli, that fucked twat.
Oh,
I hate Shuli. I have no feeling for Shuli at
really?
all.
I wouldn't have noticed.
I just don't I just feel like he tried really, really hard to be that person and to be the go-to rat person on the show. And I do not believe that he left on his own accord without any help from Sirius. And I don't think that he was the nicest person. I think that he's a little bit of a rat. What's your feeling?
Me and Chili had our differences, obviously.
Obviously.
Obviously. But all in all, we were fine together. I mean, I didn't appreciate the block party stuff that he pulled.
Yeah, the fucking block party. So there's the three of you, and you agree to split everything three ways. And,
correct.
Shuli is the, I don't know, headliner, but
Right.
all three of you are what people come to see. I mean, Shuli was really just a bit player at that point. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, yeah,
Shuli did the news and he was kind of sort of a comedian. I paid for people to go see him one time, and I think there were like 12 people in the audience. So, the fact that he would say, well, I am better than you and you are a lesser version of what we need for the block party, I think was a really fucked up thing for him to do.
Yeah, I do too. And, the whole idea of me DJing on my phone, that was my idea. I think it
Right.
was stupid. That was why it was the greatest stupid idea I could come up with.
It's a great stupid idea.
Of course.
Even better than Bailey the Bedbug.
I mean, so how ridiculous was that? So people knew it was a goof, I hope. But he would constantly make fun of me doing it. I mean, that was the point. But one time he claimed this was set up. We were doing a show somewhere, and I'm DJing on my phone, and he calls my phone. So I
knowing
pick it up
fully
in the middle.
well. Right. Okay. He's a dick.
And then he goes, "Why would Scott have his phone on if he knows he's DJing?" But it was set up. He would rip into me for having my phone on and not muting it while we're doing a show.
And okay, so Shuli's a dick, just so you know, and I'm a little upset with him because you didn't have to, but he's that guy. Now, let's go to Brent for a quick second because I know that in the great Sirius reveal, there was like this whole thing about you swinging. How did you feel about Brent coming out with like that whole swinging thing as being his entree, I guess, into being on the show? Like, how did you feel about that whole scenario?
That was okay with me. My head was like totally in a different place.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to go on and and bitch and moan. I say, what do you mean? I've talked this about 15 years ago. I've done all of this already.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be. I was never that guy. I mean, he was doing his thing, and he wanted to talk about it, and I was at a point in my life where I had enough of that. It was like I've been there and done that. There's no need to rehash it. So it didn't really bother me.
Did you feel like Howard at some point, and I don't know when the button was pushed, but it went from the Sibian and the baloney ass and tit painting and shit like that to almost completely gay. Like, what do you think happened there? Like, what do you think became the thing that all of a sudden any fucking trucker going across country wants to hear about guys like slapping their penises on George Takei's face? Like, what happened? Like, what do you think happened? Oh my, what do you think happened there?
I think the world of politically correct.
How is being gay and slapping your cock on somebody's face politically correct?
It's better than, well, that caught up now, but at that point it was better than demeaning a woman, which was the whole Me Too thing. So,
but don't you think more men who listen to the show, who has to be the demo and psychographic of that show, do you think that was something that appealed to them, or that they wanted to hear?
Obviously,
seriously, like in your own, for your
that.
own. Listen, you know what?
I didn't want to hear it.
He's the emperor with new clothes. So it doesn't matter what Howard really actually thinks, because nobody's going to tell him that he's wrong. He could be completely fucking naked walking down the street, and everybody who surrounds him will tell him that is the most awesome fucking outfit they've ever seen in their entire lives. So I don't think anybody would actually tell him this, but the reality is that, Chuck driving a fucking truck in Minneapolis really couldn't give a shit about, cock talk. And it just feels like, even with like Sal and Richard, anything that they say or come up with to be like something new and awesome that they're going to do for the show, it's gay. Everything is gay. There's no women.
Cock here. Yeah.
There's no women. When's the last time there were tits on that show? There's no women on that show.
I missed those tits. Let me tell you.
Of course you do, but why are there no women on the show? And it's not just the Me Too thing, because he changed pre-Me Too. He he made a conscious decision to no longer have women on the show. Was it because of Beth? I mean, was she like a bigger cunt behind the scenes than we actually think that she is?
How do I know?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know.
Was she a nice person in person? Was she sweet and lovely and delicious, like everybody else who comes on the show says?
Yes, she was sweet and lovely. I had to do a project with her at one point, and we had a great time, and nothing but fabulous to me. So I never had an issue.
Of course, you wouldn't. And what about?
Well, why wouldn't I? I mean, I could have issues. I had issues with a lot of people, as you heard on the air.
And what about when I know I asked you about this, but the whole Emily Stern Zuzazoo thing, which we love to goof on. So I know you recorded that for her, but was that something that Howard wanted you to do? Like, he was like, do me a favor and do this, or did you just do that on your own?
Howard asked me if I would mind recording with Emily, and I said, not a problem. So we did.
And do you think that in several ways Gary represents like Howard's mandates? Like, do you think that Gary is kind of like the voice for what Howard would like to say but doesn't say to people? Like, I'm just trying to understand like the whole role that Gary has. I mean, does anybody actually like Gary? Like, are there people that actually like Gary?
I would say there's people that like him. Yeah, I'm sure his wife likes him, and his kids like him. And yeah, I would. I have to say yes.
Okay, I want to talk about the prank that you guys did that time, and which led to like the famous quote, "I prank, nobody else pranks," and the time that he lost his shit because you guys came in.
Okay,
and
the prank was Let me set it up. Well, it was two.
Give it to
Okay.
I'm going to get some more light on
The
myself.
prank was done on Steve Langford.
Oh, so it was like actually a Steve prank, and he came running in, right?
Well, what we did was Steve, before he went in to do his news, would stand in my studio and listen for his cue.
Right.
Because there was nowhere else for him to go. So he'd stand in my studio, and when Howard would say, and here's Steve Langford with the news, he'd go running in.
Yeah.
So one day I had that recorded, a drop of Howard saying, now here's Steve Langford in the news. So what I did was I played that drop in my studio. Steve thought he was listening to the live show, which he wasn't. And I played it, and now here's Steve Langford in the news. And he went running into the studio in the middle of a bit or whatever Howard and Robin were doing. And Howard was like, what are you doing in here? He goes, you just called for me. He goes, no, I didn't.
Was he genuinely upset though?
He seemed really pissed. Really pissed.
But you know what? What scary, funny bit could have possibly been? I mean,
that was a great bit.
It was a great bit.
It was an awesome bit.
But it actually
behind that bit.
I totally agree with you, and I just think that it's so funny that he can't really take that joke, like that he can't roll with it and think that it's like a really funny fucking thing because it was hysterical.
That was a
like
prank
I think
on Steve,
both of you,
which it was so funny. I mean, his reaction was he was in shock. I mean, when Howard was like, "What are you doing here?" And Howard should have just went on with it. It would have been so great.
But he got really, really angry. Like
he got pissed.
He got really, really angry. I have a question from somebody who you used to work with, and I'm going to read it to you right now. So hold on one second. Okay. All right. I'm with you. Okay. The question is as follows. If you could dismantle the show and rebuild it with anyone who ever worked there, who would stay and who would get the boot?
Oh my God.
That's a good question. Come on.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't have that
oh, come on.
Crystal ball where I can
come on. You
can't put the pieces back together.
Of course you can. Of course you can. They're all still alive. Nobody is dead. You can do that.
I know this, but you can't recreate what happened before.
Okay, but if
magic.
You could,
we had
magic ball.
We had
magic ball.
In the 90s, we had like amazing shows, and the whole run was amazing. And then when Jackie left and Artie came, it was still amazing, but it was different. You know that.
Jackie or Artie?
Jackie was a writer and a joke teller.
Right, and Artie was a storyteller. I get that.
So,
but totally different people. Do you think that?
Totally
But do you think that when you guys went to Sirius, because I know that for me, when you guys went to Sirius, a lot of the reason I followed was because of Artie, because Artie was a fucking sick, funny.
Artie was great. Artie was awesome.
Artie was an amazing person. Have you heard anything from Artie? Anything?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm just like, I hope he's doing okay. The last time I saw him was around after my wife died. He was helping me out and stuff. That was 3 years ago. So I don't know what happened, where he is, what he's doing, if he's alive. Nobody knows. Nobody's seen him.
Nobody knows. I know. Everybody tries to say, hey, we got new news on Artie, but nobody knows.
No.
Nobody knows.
I just hope he's doing okay.
So you're not going to give me your dream team of who you would like to have as part of the show if you were going to put it together again? Come on.
The dream team. The dream team is just the original guys. I mean, that's the dream team. I mean, including Stuttering John. That's the dream team.
Including Stuttering John. Yes. Stuttering John added a lot to that show. They don't give him credit.
He was phenomenal. When he came as a kid, and a stuttering little kid, he had, and Howard started throwing him out on interviews, he had the balls to ask the questions.
Yeah, of course.
Granted, he didn't write the questions, but those were amazing questions that he had to ask these celebrities. So yeah, he had the balls and he made it work. That's why.
So what do you think about? What do you think about his lawsuit, though? I'm just curious what your
I
thoughts
don't know
are
anything
on.
about his lawsuit. We didn't even talk about that. I know
Oh,
there is
well,
a lawsuit, but
allow me to tell you. Allow
go
me to
ahead,
tell
tell
you.
me. I don't know anything
So,
else.
well, we had talked about it one time on air as well, and we were talking about the usage of his person on subsequent shows, kind of like not being able to get residuals for repeats, even though Howard was the one who sold those shows to Sirius. And I guess the feeling was, using your likeness and using you on repeat shows that somebody sold to you. Why do I not get any part of that? And I
That's a good
get it.
question.
It is a good question because, so many of you weren't really on-air personalities. You weren't SAG, you weren't AFTRA. You
No,
were just kind of guys who went on air, and then, oh, lo and behold, we're going to start recording these shows. Oh, and also it's going to be on the E channel now. And
oh yeah,
so, I think the realization is that you guys weren't getting paid scale as being TV people. You were just getting what you got because you worked on the show.
that's correct.
So that's part of what John was kind of all about. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about it, but obviously since you don't know about it, I don't want
I don't know about it, but I hope he wins, because if he wins, I win.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean,
do
maybe
wanna
that's
talk
why
to-
he's cutting out Artie out of everything. Maybe that's why going
Exactly.
back to that. So I don't know, because everybody signs something at the beginning about who owns the show and what happens.
See, a lot of people have told me they never signed anything. And I think maybe because they were
at some point. I never signed anything in the beginning. No, I never did. But at some point, somewhere, there was something. I never paid attention to that shit because I just want to do my job. I'm like, fine, whatever it is. So I didn't take much interest in that. I just want to get paid fairly for what I was doing.
What's your feelings on Ralph?
Ralph. It's hard to say. It's hard to have an opinion on Ralph. Ralph, it really is.
Like, what does one have an opinion on when you are an 18-year-old and Howard takes you under his wing so that you can actually dress him and do prosthetics for the show, even though you've never met and he still lives with his mother? I'm just really curious about that relationship.
Again, me and Ralph, whenever we never went out together, we never hung out together, and whenever we had to work together, it was fine. It was never a problem with Ralph. So what he and Howard did or didn't do, or
so were you not at like the Scores parties where Howard was getting blowjobs?
I was at the Scores parties. Oh, I don't know about those, but I was at the Scores parties.
Yeah, I was told by somebody who was there that they actually saw him getting a blowjob from a stripper.
My own thing. Well, the blowjobs happen behind closed doors. So
very closed doors on very high floors.
I wouldn't be privy to that, so I wouldn't know anything about it. But I was at most of the Scores parties.
Were you there the day where Fred just fell on his face? I was right in
front of him. I was like, oh my God. I saw the whole thing.
Was it brutal?
Brutal. It was brutal. He fell over like a piece of tree. Boom. Just crashed down like a tree being cut down.
How is Fred these days? I mean, I feel like he's also been a little marginalized. They built that new studio where they just, completely like shut him off, and there's like a wall now in front of him. Do you think that's like a weird thing for a Fred who's been on the show for like 1,000 years to then all of a sudden just be, a guy who works puppets and is behind a screen doing drops?
They don't do the show in the studio anymore, right?
It's never going to happen. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Got to be honest with you.
I don't know, but that's what I've heard. It's all on Zoom shit, right?
Yeah, it's never going to be in the studio again. I don't think.
So Fred isn't behind the glass wall anymore.
But you know what I mean? Like when they started to kind of
that wall went up and down. He can bring it down if he wanted.
If he wanted, but it wasn't going to happen.
Howard really had some kind of complex. And the only one that could look at him directly was Robin. He didn't
Why do you think that is?
He wanted people, I don't know. He had some kind of, I don't know what you call it, but
hang up
that he didn't want people staring at him. Hence my first day on the air, when I told you I walked in and he didn't want anybody looking at him.
Yeah, but he had Benji in there. He had Artie
but they were
in there.
behind him. They didn't really,
that's true. That's true. I never really thought about that.
They were kind of off to the side behind him, and they didn't have a good view of Howard. They couldn't really see him. They had monitors, so they were hidden.
So wig or wig system? What do you think?
Oh, I never thought he had a wig.
Never. Even though Grillo said he took all the wigs from Private Parts and started wearing them after Private Parts.
That I couldn't.
Come on.
I told you
Scott.
I didn't get involved in any of that.
Scott.
Behind the scenes. I don't know. I came in, I did what I had to do for the show. I never got involved with any private business or.
He couldn't be filmed from behind. He couldn't be.
There was an angle that he wanted to be shot at. And
period.
Most celebrities want a certain angle or a certain shot or a certain approval of something. He was just like that. I mean, it wasn't anything that I thought was a big deal. He liked the way he looked from a certain angle. So, okay.
So
shoot him from that angle.
Wig or system, you don't know.
I don't think so. I give it two thoughts. I mean, I worry about my own system,
Somebody has a question and they want to know whether or not you ever got to bowl at his bowling alley. Did you ever go to his house in the Hamptons?
No.
Okay, so you never got to bowl in his gigantic bowling alley downstairs?
No.
Okay. Did you know that he's actually recording a lot of the shows from Florida now?
I didn't know that. But if you want somebody to stop by, I'm right near there. So
yeah, I know. Hey, I heard that you live actually kind of close to Allison. True?
I don't know where Allison lives.
Yeah, actually.
See, I don't know anything. I'm telling you. I keep out of it.
Do you think that Howard was faithful to Allison?
As far as I know, yes.
Do you think after Private Parts that changed a lot of things between him and the staff and with everything that you guys were?
After Private Parts, so that was 94. No. The show was great. The show went on. It might have changed its personal. No. Well, clearly. Private Parts, the book, and the movie came out when 97.
96, 97, right?
Yeah,
but that's when he left. That's when he bought the house, the apartment in New York City, and then just
it might have changed him personally. I don't think it changed the show at that point.
Okay, I'm doing random questions now. Which Wack Packers were easiest to work with, and which were the worst?
Well, I love working with Hank Wolf. He's phenomenal.
He's so cute. I miss him so much.
And I know, me too. He was great. Beetlejuice was Beetlejuice,
He's no longer on, though. It's kind of curious. What do you think happened there?
I think
parents, right? His mother?
His mother took him back to Atlanta. I think and he lives, and she wants to protect him from the evils of Howard, I guess.
Meanwhile, he's more popular on Twitter and Snapchat and
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, and TikTok. He is one of the most popular. People don't even know him from the Stern Show. Really? They just know him as this curious little small person. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
It was fun. He was fun.
And who's the worst?
I don't know who's Wack Packers.
Wendy.
I never had to deal with Wendy that much. She wasn't, on the show.
Oh, you're so lucky because I met her in person and she actually
met her. Yeah.
She actually has that. She actually has that smell of people that you would expect.
Yeah.
Her and her mother were walking down the street.
Fred the Elephant Boy has that smell.
Yes, Fred has that. There's a certain Wack Pack smell.
You know who I got to tell you who was really fun to meet and work with? I just can't believe I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
Eric the actor.
Okay, so tell me now. So are you not? Yeah, go ahead.
We went out to San Francisco to do the block party, and Eric was with us. And Eric was phenomenal. He was great to be with in private, even on stage. The kid was just awesome. He was so nice. He
Really?
was just so shy. And he was really good. And then he would go on the air and just, yelling at everybody and being pissed off at everything. But he was like totally different in person.
Well, I mean, let's cut him some slack. And listen, I'm no fan of his. I would immediately change the channel when he came on because I just couldn't. I couldn't listen to him. His anger was palpable, and I couldn't stand listening to him. And it got to a point, though, at some point where Eric was on pretty much every day, and it was like enough. Like we're so done with you.
He thought he deserved everything on the air. He thought he was like, I deserve this and I deserve, very entitled. I deserve to be on this show. You got to get me on this show. You got to, I got to meet what's her name from American Idol and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But off the air, he was like shy.
Really?
Reserved. Yes, it was like it was so strange. But he was, he was nice.
Do you think at this point a lot of the calls that Howard takes are like set up phone calls because he doesn't take regular phone calls anymore, I feel.
I don't know. I wasn't in the screening area a lot, so.
But do you think that it was? Do you heard them? I mean, do you think?
Some of them are obvious?
Well, yeah, because they're calling in to tell a story, like a sexual story that is kind of not really interesting or whatever. But we kind of always feel like I
never saw scripts or anything for that or anything. I never saw any of that. So whatever went on without my knowledge.
What do you think of like a Marianne from Brooklyn?
Marianne's sweet.
Do you think she's like a weird kind of, in a weird way, like a shill for the show? Like she'll be the one to always bring up something that happened.
I don't get it. That's all. I don't get her fandom and so her enthusiasm. I don't know what she's trying to get out of it. I don't get it. That's how I feel about it. I love her. She's sweet and she's nice and she'd always bring food to the studio and very nice person. But I don't get the fandom thing. The craziness.
Yeah, I think it's insane. And I have no feeling for Marianne whatsoever. And I just think it's bizarre. If I was her husband, I'd be like, the fuck is wrong with you? I just think it's kind of bizarre. Okay, so I'm going to end off with a couple of things.
Okay.
Was there a point on the show when you were still working there where it stopped being fun?
Yeah, it did. There was a point. A couple of years into my wife's illness, it stopped being fun because I was trying to take care of her and trying to work. So, between the both of them, work was easier than going home, but it wasn't fun.
Well, could you have taken some time off, or was that not really allowed?
I only took vacation that was entitled to me. I took.
How much vacation could you take there?
Me, I had 5 weeks.
Yeah, but there was also a lot of times where Howard was off air as well. But did you have to work when Howard was off air?
Everybody, the whole staff had to work. You had a certain amount. Some people had 2 weeks, depending on your, accrued
tenure.
time. Yeah, your tenure. Some people had 2, some people had 3, and that's when you take off. Nobody was off any other time when Howard was off, unless they had their own vacation to take.
Did you feel like there was enough to do when he was on vacation? I'm not joking either, because when you're like 60, 70 people, all trying to just like do bits and stuff like that, like I can envision Sal and Richard sitting in a room just fucking hanging out, playing on the internet.
No. They were working. Believe me, they were working and working and working. They were always trying to come up with new bits, new phone calls. Always.
I know, but how much of that can you possibly do? Like, seriously.
You do it every day. You just keep doing it and you keep doing it until you hit on something. You don't make a phone call and it happens. To get 1 2-minute phone call, it might take a week, believe it or not.
Right. But
or
at what
more.
point does like a Tradio thing? But they're not even played. You know what I mean? Like it's like I feel like they're spinning their wheels and working super hard to do something that maybe at best, gets played at the end of the year when they're quote cleaning out the computer. It just
Uh-huh.
feels like so much of it is for naught, and it's
That's
just like a
not for
lot of
them.
spinning of
If they want to
wheels.
leave, if they don't like it, they can leave.
Yeah,
But
of course. But where are
they
they
have
going to
to.
go? Well, let's be honest.
Well,
You know,
exactly.
when your job
They're
when
very
your job
talented.
title is like
Yeah.
phony phone
Circus
calls,
clown. Yeah.
right?
Phony phone calls. What did you
Where
do?
do
What
you
did you
go?
do there? I made phony phone calls. Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
And I shoved my finger up Benji's ass and he liked it. I mean,
I slapped my
at
dick
what
on
point is
George
that wrong?
Takei. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's Takei.
Exactly. I mean, so do you think that what do you think the future holds for the Stern Show? Do you think that this will be his last 5-year tenure?
I'm shocked that it was 5 more years. I thought it would already be his last. I was shocked.
Me too.
I was shocked it was 5 years. I thought it would be 2 or 3.
Oh, true. You're right. He
Yeah.
could have changed it to something else.
And do you know what's in the contract right now? Do you know that if he has a 5-year deal? I don't know anything. I'm just assuming. Assume that maybe he has an opt out after 2 years.
Right.
You don't know that.
And they pay him out.
Whatever.
Oh, Scott, God damn you.
I'm a very busy person. He may have a deal that says, I'm out after when I decide I'm out. It may run out for 5 years, but he could say, I'm done in 2 years. You don't have to pay me. I'm sure that's not the case, but he could have a deal like that. Why not? I mean, you could have my material for another 10 years or whatever, whatever it is. You don't know what's in that deal.
Do you think Sirius made the right move by re-signing him for such a I don't believe the money thing. I don't believe $100 million a year. I don't believe that he's making more for less
let
work.
me preface this by saying I don't know if that 100 million goes to him. I am assuming, and it's bad to assume, we all know.
That's the ball.
Money, that's the pie. That's the whole pie.
Funds everything. Right.
That funds
I agree.
Paying salaries and paying production costs and paying whatever. So that's what I think. I can't tell you for sure.
I feel like that's true. And I know we have talked about that in the past, that's the total nut for the Stern Show entity Inc. As
Correct.
opposed to
and if they want to go on a road trip, that money comes out of that ball.
Yeah, but they're not going on. That's why they're not going on road trip. Nothing's going to happen. I feel like. Do you think that he'll ever go back? Oh God, they went to LA, and that was only once. Literally in the last. How many road trips can you remember them doing other than that LA trip?
Oh no, we didn't.
That was a debacle.
We didn't do any road trips at Sirius. None,
right?
Until he went to LA for the supposedly new Sirius studio, and I didn't go on that road trip.
Do you feel like the people that were on 101 were let go so that he would have more money in the pie, like the Pharrells and the Bubbas and things like that? I mean, Bubba might be a different story, but the whole point of the 101 was to have other people that were of like minds, and then all of a sudden that went away. So do you think that happened because of him?
I would say it had to happen because of him. He's in charge. He makes all the decisions. So obviously he wanted to go in another direction, and he hired a lot more writers and changed the focus of, I guess, where the money was going.
Right.
So he went in a different direction. He wanted to put it more into his show than the other shows.
And do you think that happened? Do you think it manifested itself in that way? Or do you think that what the show wound up being, and the way I see it now, especially when he has a guest on, it's like an hour and a half of guest, right. An hour in the morning talking about his parents still. God knows they're going to drop dead at some point, and then, who called them from heaven. And then there's no news. Why do you think there's no news with Robin anymore?
I can't tell you that. I mean, I was there last a year and a half ago. I haven't been there. I haven't been in contact with anybody. Really.
Do you think it's to keep the shows kind of evergreen so that it's not really topical in terms of what's going on in the world? Because, it feels like just this weird, bizarre other world.
I don't know, but the news, when I would cut best of back in the day,
yeah,
the news segments were phenomenal. I mean, you couldn't leave them out, even if they were topical for the time.
Waited for the news. Waited for the news.
Yeah, because so much grew out of the news. There was so many bits and natural occurrences that happened during that hour and a half that it didn't matter if she was talking about something from 1992. It's just what was leading up to and what was happening around it.
Exactly, in the comments, or if Gilbert was in, or any of that stuff. A lot of people these days are thinking that they're pre-recorded shows, though, as well. Has he ever done that?
Have we ever done a pre-recorded show? The only time we ever did a pre-recorded show was like in the early days when we used to go out to LA. We'd record the show
for time purposes.
For time purposes, and play it back in the morning. But
other than that,
no. As far as I know, we never, other than best of, there's never been a recorded show that's pretended to be live.
And then when Robin got sick and she was home and nobody knew about it, how did you guys work that? Like, did you go there and like set her up, or did somebody else do it?
Somebody else went there and set her up. And then it was my job in the morning to make sure she was connected and ready to go.
And then how did it work if something fucked up? Like, who would go? Like, did somebody have to run down to Jersey, or was she still in the city, or whatever?
We had. She was in Jersey, so we had a guy in Philly that was actually closer to where she was than New York. Somebody would run over and get things working again.
And then how did it work with people in studio? Like, were people told, don't mention the fact that Robin's not here? Like, how did it work?
I didn't know. Gary and the guest, that was between them. Again, I wasn't involved with that. So I wouldn't know what they told the guest to say or what not to say.
But it worked. I mean, she obviously, she was able to successfully.
Yeah, she did it. I mean, she did a great job and kept on the air every day. And I got to give her credit for that. She really. Why are you laughing?
Somebody has a question. I'm putting it up here. Can you address the sexual energy tension between you and Lisa G? Did you ever do roll call with her?
There wasn't any. No, it was Ronnie and Lisa G sexual tension. It wasn't between me and Lisa G.
Yeah. Why are you saying that, G Canada? Jesus Christ. Or
it was Ronnie. I mean, not that. I mean, Lisa was a very attractive woman, and and she still is.
So Ronnie's house is for sale, and he's actually going to be leaving. He's actually doing the move.
I heard that he's going to Vegas. He's moving.
Do you talk to him? Who do you talk to these days? Who are you still in touch with?
I talk to no one. Really, seriously. I did talk to Ronnie a couple of times, but no one else. I've talked to no one else.
Why is that?
Ask them. I don't know.
So do you reach out or do you not care?
I don't reach out. No. You want to call it, it works both ways, Scott. People should have reached out to me first.
I think so.
I don't bother reaching out to them. So
do you feel like it's a very incestuous kind of attitude there? Like, I remember when Grillo was really, really close friends with Robin, and Robin invited him to something over at some weird kind of cultish thing that she's very into, and I can't remember the name of it right now. And she paid for him to go.
I know.
You remember that, right?
She did that to me.
So did you go?
I did.
And did you? So.
Well, I paid for it.
She paid for it for Grillo. So anyway, so when Grillo started doing his show, and he had done like a live recording with somebody somewhere, and he was supposed to meet Robin for lunch that day, and she called him and said, I can't meet with you. And he's like, why? And she's like, well, because you were talking about Howard, and we're really not allowed up here anymore. And that's the end of the story. And I just thought that was kind of bizarre that somebody that she was really close to and she wanted to help and she, would help out, that all of a sudden, because Howard says now, he's persona non grata, and we all know about this famous, red list that there is. I don't know if you know about this or not, but there's
I don't know anything that goes on behind whatever I'm told to do is what I know.
That's it.
That's it. If I'm told, Howard wants this, I do it, and that's all I know. I never got involved with what went on behind, what decisions were being made, what material to air, what material not to air. That I wasn't involved at all with that, just those decisions. I was just a blue collar working guy. I wanted to do my job. I wanted to make a decent living for what I was doing, and
you did
do the best I could.
Did you, in hindsight, would you have stayed unionized? Would you have stayed at like a K-Rock? Like if you were just going to Sirius just for shits and giggles, would you, in hindsight, have actually left a K-Rock? If it wasn't for Howard, like if you weren't working
right
with Howard, would you have left? Honestly.
Well, I would have been fired if I didn't leave. That's number one. I could tell you that right now.
Why?
Howard Stern, because Tom didn't like me.
Oh, right. Fucking Tom.
Yeah.
But but as a union person, you would have been able to go to you were at PLJ. You would have been able to go to
another place? I
another
guess,
place?
Yeah, I probably could have. But I was offered to come with Howard, which is very nice of him, and I accepted. And
so they were non-union, so you just wound up being like just a salaried guy, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and could they have used you for any other show, or was the decision made that you were just going to be like a Howard person?
I was just for Howard. I was hired with Howard to work for Howard and only work on Howard.
So to wrap up, where do you see yourself in the next 2-3 years? I know we discussed Florida.
Baby, on the beach.
I know. And I'm excited for you to be able to be, happy and healthy. And do you feel like you still have to work, or is that something that you would do, or would you freelance, or would you?
I wouldn't mind freelancing. I wouldn't want to work full time anymore. I just got in the last year and a half, I've basically done nothing. I spent the last 7 months in Florida. The whole winter. It was phenomenal. I have friends down there. I was active. I started playing golf, which I can't believe I'm saying.
Oh my God. I'm so happy you didn't say pickleball, because I would have killed you.
I did that too. Yeah, I found out there's something called pickleball down in Florida for us senior types, which is across. If people don't know what pickleball is, it's a cross between tennis and ping pong. You play it's like a tennis court, but it's half the size. You play with a paddle and a wiffle ball, basically.
And you basically have to have an ARP card in order to do it. There's just
right. You gotta have an ARP card. But it's getting bigger and bigger, believe it or not.
I hear that, unfortunately, and I want no part of this.
Tuning through the television the other day, and there was pickleball on television. I'm like,
oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
What the fuck? Pickleball.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. All right, so you're having a good time, and you're having fun, and you're living your best life right now.
I'm comfortable. I'm living fine. I'm having a great time, and retirement is so far so good.
Awesome. I'm happy you were able to retire. I'm happy you were able to, look back with happiness and with fond memories of phenomenal fucking.
How can I?
Time.
Really,
and it's not a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing at all.
People would say, he would yell at you. It was the greatest job in the world. Why would people would give their left nut to be working there. And,
yeah, of course they would. So even if they paid, it's a hard thing to say though, because you'll give your left nut for it. But, if you're making, you're making shit money because you're working at the best radio station that there is.
Right.
I feel like there's a weird fine line between, loving your job and being able to really, sustain your career, and I think
Well,
that's like a really big thing.
Yeah, I was trying to do both, and I was trying to get paid fairly, which I never did.
You never did.
No, I don't think many did. Many people that went through there did.
Yeah, I don't think so
but
either.
I had a family that had the support. There wasn't, things to run around and keep changing jobs, and it was a great job. So, the money, I kind of had to start a business and pick it up anywhere I could on the side, doing appearances, doing my DJ business, and so forth and so on.
But you know what? It worked out. We know who you are, and we never would have had it not been for
that's
that show,
true.
right?
But I wasn't looking for that either. So, but that's part of the genius of Howard.
No, it's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I'm so happy that you came on with me, and I hope this wasn't too,
Oh my God! I have
dickish.
to recover over the next 2 days now.
But seriously, thank you so much. This was really, really fun. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you, being able to be as
not giving you everything you needed, but I gave.
No. That's really okay. That's okay.
I'm being honest. I'm just being honest. It's just me.
Listen,
and,
I did not have high expectations on you being able to say yes. He's a giant douchebag who wears a wig, and he may possibly be gay. So
really, I never heard that.
I cannot even imagine that you can't give me the answer on the friggin' wig thing. I really can't. I
can't tell you. I don't know. He had his hair done. There was a hairdresser there every day.
Exactly. What does that say to you? He's a radio personality with a hairdresser.
No, we were on TV at that point. He didn't have a radio. He didn't have a hairdresser until we got on TV. So,
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's what I know.
Okay.
I'm not defending him. I'm just telling you what happened.
No, you don't have to defend him. He's a big boy. He defends himself.
I know. But
all right.
I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had a career. That's the truth. So,
and that's the truth.
If
it was a good career.
If something happened good. I mean, every job is like that. So whatever it is.
So, do you not want to talk about that Christmas party?
What Christmas party?
The Christmas party. The Christmas party.
It was a lot of Christmas party. Every year there was a Christmas party.
The Christmas party. The last Christmas party.
The last Christmas party. Very nice. Very nice entertainment. Very good food.
The Christmas party. I
was there and I had a good time.
Very last thing, and I'm not even joking. I really want you to be seriously honest with me. What are your thoughts on the person who kind of runs everything, who happens to be female and redheaded? What are your feelings on her? Do you think she fucked things up, or do you think that she was a good thing for the show?
It's not for me to decide. It's for Howard to decide.
Oh my God, you
is that
I know it's a loaded question. I know that was a loaded question, and you really just answered I
don't make those. If Howard's happy with her, then that's the show. Howard's the show. He makes all the decisions. It's not for me to, comment on what he believes is right for the show.
That's okay.
I believe it was right? No, I didn't believe it was right.
Did you like her?
Did I like her? I don't like any bosses. I'm just one of those guys that doesn't get along with boss. I hate authority. So it really, I like to be left to my own devices and do my job the way I think it should be done, because I am the only one that knows how to do my job the best way. So
as a person, did you like her? Like saying, okay, as a person, did you like Gary?
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay. As a person, did you like Marcy?
That's my answer. Well, let me answer as Beetle.
Go ahead.
Didn't like her at all. But me, I'm fine. I'm fine. Whatever. I don't know. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Shut Beetle up right now. Go.
Winston, did you like
go walk Winnie. Go walk Winnie.
Gotta walk my dog now.
All right. Thank you, Scott, so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I think this was a wonderful interview. And you did, see what Kylo Sierra Alpha said. Scott did the best he could. You're
guess
awesome.
I always do the best I can.
Yes.
And always
And you are that guy.
continue to do that. Thank you very much. It's been a
You are
pleasure.
that guy. So thank you so much for coming on, and you have a great night.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye. All right. There you go, guys. I've totally lost my fucking light in here. I'm trying. I don't really have light. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't have light. So I'm gonna put myself on stop cam. Oh, look, there's me. It's Beth. So what are your thoughts, guys? Like, yeah, I tried. I did. I tried. A good interviewer would know okay, what did you just say there? A good interview would know exactly how to extract the answer that their audience wants. All right, Jack. Okay, Jack. I tried. Listen, there's only so much that you can do with somebody like that. I'm not really sure what else to say. I did try, and kind of like with Brent, we tried. What are you going to do? Two things I do want to say. One is that the next person that we're going to do, that I'm going to do a one-on-one with is Caitlin. And so I'll make a post, I guess, on Monday on radiogunk.com. And you guys can kind of come in and ask any questions that you want. I think that'll be really fun. I will tell you that, yeah, he signed an NDA. I was talking to him at the time that he was looking to get more money than what they gave him or what they were offering him at first. So I knew he had been fired. I knew that he was negotiating his exit with them. And I knew that he would obviously sign an NDA. So a lot of the questions that you guys had for him obviously weren't going to get answered. I knew that. You knew that. We all knew that. But, he was very friendly and a nice guy. And, yeah, we'll see. This is very funny. Can't wait to hear what the Vile Harvey has to say. Yeah, I think that she'll actually be a really, really fun interview. I'm actually looking forward to Caitlin. Oh my God, I would love to get Jack Hammer at the same time. That would be like ridiculous. So yeah, I didn't know that we were going to get anything more than that. Yeah, I know. Interview of the decade would definitely be who can get Artie. I've tried to call him. I have nothing. So yeah, so Caitlin will be next. I'll probably do that. I think I have it scheduled. Hold on, I'll tell you when that is scheduled for, because we already scheduled the interview, and that's going to be on, stay with me, guys, June 9th. Okay, so we'll have Caitlin on June 9th. Okay, so that was exhausting. Yeah, totally looking forward to Caitlin. Yeah, Brent is always lying. Of course he is. Scott is very likable, right? Like he's like a nice guy, and he looks good. I mean, obviously, being retired has done him well. His wife has now passed away. I didn't realize he was like gone over a year and some odd at this point. So, maybe he's seeing somebody. Maybe he's got a nice little side piece down in Florida that he's like happy with. He looks like he's happy. So, okay, Mo, talk about leaving New York City. So yeah, here's the story. So I have in fact moved out of Manhattan. And not gonna lie, it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and it really upsets me that I did do it, but I had to. New York is definitely not the same, and even though the weather's nice now and people are out and about and whatever, it's still really, really fucked up place to be. I am in full support of the New York City Police Department, and I feel like they've kind of taken a step back just in terms of what's happening with the with crime and shit like that. I mean, one of my best friends, her daughter was hanging out with her girlfriends and like a couple of boys. They're 14 years old, and two kids came over on like scooters that they probably fucking stole and said, "Give us all your money and your fucking sneakers." And literally, she was a block away from her house. And her and one of the girls ran home, and the kid had a gun in his side of his jeans and stuck up fucking 14-year-olds. And you know what? It's just not the same. And I was paying a lot of fucking rent for a beautiful apartment, on the 42nd floor of a building. But for the money I was spending, I can go into Manhattan anytime I want to, stay at the best hotel I want to, be there for a couple of days, and it would still be cheaper than what I was paying in rent. So that's it. That's all I got. I don't really have a need to be there anymore, and I don't want to be there anymore. Yeah, Christina Brown's nephews on bikes, exactly. And it was really, really sad. So I have lived in New York City the entirety of my adult life. I was born in New York City. I lived in New York City until I was 10 years old. And then my parents moved us to Brooklyn because my father's family owned a 6-family apartment building there, which we still own. And that's where I lived until I moved out when I was 18. And so, so I've been in New York my entire life. And so this was a really, really hard decision, but to pay the amount of rent I was paying that would actually fucking floor most of you. And for being there, maybe 4 weeks out of the entire year last year, I just kick myself with what I could have been doing with that money, as opposed to paying for parking too, which is like another $500. So it was just kind of insane. And it was a really, really, really hard decision. And I don't think that that's going to be the end of me being in New York. But for now, it is what it is. And I'm okay with it. I've come to the decision that it's okay. And that's it. Yeah, the cops are absolutely handcuffed. But you know what? I had a stalker who's not on here right now, thank God, who's a total fucking douchebag. And I went to the police and you know what? They were awesome. I mean, every single one of them. I think they're great people. And I really appreciate our police, although I must confess, kids I grew up with in Brooklyn who became cops are the people who basically, would throw firecrackers at fucking cats and watch them blow up. They were all fucking insane. So, there's two sides to it. But that said, I was there for my final weekend, and it was like 2:00 in the morning on Saturday. And there's a Chick-fil-A on 8th Avenue, really close to where I live. And there had to be 100 people outside there, 2:00 in the morning at Chick-fil-A. And there were like all these cars, like those cars that do like that drifting shit or whatever. There had to be like 50 of them. And I have like triple paned windows, and I had the air conditioning on, and all you heard is bum, 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 bum. Like literally at like 2:00 in the morning, I was like, oh, fuck this shit. And you know what? It just kind of solidified my feelings on leaving. So rent might be a waste of money, but you know what? I used to own for a very long time, and we sold, and made a shit ton of money on selling. And I decided I wanted to rent and behind the sky. And I got what I wanted, and now that's over, and that's it. That's it. So that's all I got, and now I'm vaccinated, and there's no mask required anywhere. So I'm super happy about that, and I have no fear of COVID anymore, and I'm good to go. Not all cops are bad, but all liberals are. So that's a really fucked up thing to say, because you know what? It's not black and white, guys. I was born and raised a very, very staunch Republican, and I changed parties probably sometime about 8 or 9 years ago. And you know what? There's no fucking way you would ever call me a liberal. I am no fucking tree hugging, save everybody's manlyhood or transgenders or, fucking 6'4" guys who decided they want to be women, playing in sports. I don't agree with any of that. But, just because I'm not a fucking staunch Republican doesn't mean I'm a liberal. So fuck you with that. All right. That's all I wanted to say. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you for, I'm going to try again with fucking Shaul. I wish I could show you. You know what? I'm going to show you guys the PMs. I'll go on Radio Gunk and I'll post them for you. He's like, yeah, fuck you. Why would I ever want to come on your show? You guys fucking suck. So no, de Blasio did not destroy the city. De Blasio is a fucking dick. But I blame the city because you know what? Nobody likes to vote and nobody does. So it's, they just like let it happen. Mo trying to act like she didn't vote for de Blasio. No, I actually didn't. Okay. So you don't know shit about me. All right, guys. So you're going to make me upset and I don't want to be upset. So go fuck yourselves. So thank you for listening. And we'll have a real Radio Gunk probably next week. And I will end the show as I began it because Bon Jovial made like a super silly opening for Scott. And when you listen to it, this is actually Bon Jovial talking. So it was just like a super silly thing that he did, and I think it came out really cute. All right, so here we go. Here is the intro that he did. Thank you, everybody, for participating tonight. I really appreciate it. And, we did the best we could, right? So there's that.
Lovely. Hey, Rainy. Oh, good. Oh, no. Oh, it's dangerous. The humanity. Goodness. This is insanity. The tragic nature. Oh, gosh. Well, in a situation like this, there's only one thing left to do. Strike. Well, that's one way to feel better.